March 3, 2026 Midday News Summary, New York Time, covering 6 morning to 12 noon. Don't forget to subscribe before we start, so you don't miss out on the latest international news. News 1, UN Security Council to vote on Gaza ceasefire resolution. The UN Security Council is scheduled for a midday vote on a US-drafted resolution calling for an immediate, temporary ceasefire in Gaza and the release of all hostages. Diplomatic sources indicate intense negotiations overnight, with passage uncertain due to potential vetoes. News 2, ECB holds rates, revises inflation forecast downward. The European Central Bank kept its key interest rate at 4% as expected. President Lagarde announced a revised 2026 inflation forecast of 1.9%, nearing the bank's target, signaling a high probability of a rate cut in June. News 3, Japan's Tokyo CPI falls below 2% for first time in 18 months. Core Consumer Price Index for Tokyo, a leading national indicator, rose 1.8% year-on-year in February, below the 2% forecast. The data strengthens the case for the Bank of Japan to maintain an accommodative stance. News 4, oil prices slide 3% on demand concerns and inventory build. Brent crude futures fell to $78.50 per barrel after US API data showed a larger-than-expected inventory increase. The drop was exacerbated by weak manufacturing data from China and Europe, signaling softer demand. News 5, U.S. Treasury yields climb ahead of key PCE data. The yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury note rose 8 basis points to 4.35% as markets positioned for the afternoon's Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, a key Fed inflation gauge. Equity futures turned lower on the move. News 6, EU announces antitrust charges against major tech firm. The European Commission has formally charged a leading global technology company with violating digital market rules by unfairly favoring its own services. The company faces potential fines up to 10% of its global annual revenue. News 7, South Korea Q4 GDP revised upward to 0.6% growth. The Bank of Korea revised its fourth-quarter GDP growth to 0.6% quarter-on-quarter, up from a preliminary 0.5%. The stronger-than-expected figure was driven by robust exports, particularly in semiconductors and automobiles. That's all for today's news. See you next time.